Imagine you spend, I don't know, weeks meticulously setting up this really high-end breeding project for a rare fish.
Oh, right. Dialing in the exact water temperature, checking the pH every day.
Exactly. You select the perfect breeding pair, and then, despite all that effort, the fish just dies.
Which is incredibly frustrating.
Really is. The tank is suddenly just empty. Your primary project is, well, a total failure. I mean, most of us would probably just drain that tank, scrub the glass, and walk away into... Yeah, it's fascinating. So welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a highly specific, deeply personal piece of source material for you. We aren't looking at some peer-reviewed scientific journal or a mainstream news article.
No, not at all.
We're looking at a humble, text-heavy blog post. It's titled Notes on Fishkeeping, Part 208, Embracing the Snail Boom. It's from a website called qianmeng.org, written by a creator named Ang, who describes himself simply as an old software plumber.
I love that description. Old software plumber.
Right. And through this one short post, we get this incredible window into how an engineer's brain processes the messy, unpredictable natural world.
Yeah, and the mission for our deep dive today is to explore how applying systems thinking and, honestly, relentless daily documentation to our offline hobbies can completely transform how we experience failures.
Totally.
We're going to examine the actual mechanics of how an unexpected crash in a physical ecosystem, like a fish tank, can teach us how to build highly efficient, automated solutions in our own lives and work.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the story Ang tells in this post starts with that exact disappointment I mentioned earlier, a total system failure.
Right, the empty tank.
Yeah, he had this pair of apistogramma. For anyone who isn't deep into the aquarium hobby, these are dwarf cichlids.
Very pretty, but very sensitive fish.
Exactly. They are beautiful, highly complex little fish that require really specific water parameters. And hobbyists love trying to breed them. But as Ang notes in his blog, very matter-of-factly I might add, one of the pair didn't survive. The breeding project just crashed.
Yeah.
So he's left with this 20-gallon box of water and no main attraction.
Which is usually when people give up. I mean, typically the instinct here is to hit the reset button, like we said. The aquarium hobby is heavily focused on control.
Right. You want everything perfect.
Exactly. If you lose your target species, you tear down the environment, you sanitize the equipment, and you start over with a blank slate just to erase the failure. But Ang doesn't do that. He leaves the tank running.
He just leaves it.
Yeah, he lets the water continue to circulate. And because the main program, the fish, basically is gone, he notices a background process quietly taking over. A few Malaysian pond snails, specifically the radix species, are the only things left populating this empty space.
Reading his notes, this feels exactly like a software bug turning into a feature.
It really does.
He notices that these surviving snails are keeping the glass surfaces completely clean, and he doesn't have to manually scrub them at all. But I have to point out, he almost missed this entirely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he admits he wasn't paying much attention to the empty tank. It was actually his SO, his significant other, who pointed out the numerous small egg clusters plastered all over the glass.
Oh,
Yeah, he even includes a picture of them in the post. Just these tiny, almost invisible, gelatinous clusters of future snails.
What's fascinating here is the collaborative nature of that observation, and the subsequent shift in perspective. Well, instead of viewing the loss of the apistogramma as a total failure and fighting to return the tank to a pristine, sterile state, Ang steps back. He accepts the new ecological reality.
Just lets it ride.
Right. He decides to let this background process run just to see what it does. It introduces this concept we could call ecological redundancy.
Ecological redundancy, I like that.
Yeah, think about it for you, the listener, in your own projects. Whether it's a marketing campaign at work or a new fitness routine, we rarely build in secondary low-effort habits that continue to generate value when the main project dies. We usually just let the whole thing collapse.
That's so true. We get so hyper-focused on the rare fish that we completely miss the snails cleaning our glass. We miss the utility of the failure.
Exactly. And Ang doesn't just passively observe this utility either. He decides to scale it up.
Oh, of course he does.
Building directly on the discovery of all those egg clusters, he maps out a new architecture. He actually writes, "Judging by the number of clusters, it's clear we're going to have a large snail population. Once they reach a decent size, we'll transfer them to other tanks or ponds to clear out bottom debris and algae."
Wait, I have to push back on his logic here, though.
Okay, go for it.
Aren't snails universally considered invasive pests in the aquarium hobby?
Generally.
Right. So if you have a sheer volume of tanks, like he mentions in the post, Purposely breeding a fast multiplier snail seems like a recipe for total chaos. I mean, I've read forums where aquarists buy expensive chemical treatments specifically to eradicate pond
Oh,
snails.
for sure. Copper treatments, traps, you name it.
Exactly, because they clog up mechanical filters and overrun the entire environment. Why on earth would he actively cultivate an infestation?
Well, in a traditional single display tank sitting in a living room, you are absolutely right. They are viewed as a nuisance because they ruin the pristine aesthetic.
Right.
But we have to look at the specific context Ang provides about his setup. He explicitly states, and this is a quote, "The many moons of fish keeping have taught us to keep things as simple as possible."
Simple as possible.
Right. He isn't managing one pretty display tank. He is focusing on breeding fish at scale.
Ah, okay. That changes things.
Entirely. When you are managing physical infrastructure at that level, whether that's a massive server farm or a room full of dozens of breeding aquariums, manual maintenance becomes your biggest, most expensive bottleneck.
That makes sense.
You physically cannot individually scrub the glass and vacuum the microscopic detritus from dozens of tanks every single week without burning out. You need automated utilities.
I see. It's the difference between hand watering a single houseplant and managing a commercial farm.
Precisely.
I actually learned this the hard way a few years ago. I once built this color-coded multi-tab Excel spreadsheet to track the soil pH and watering schedule for a single raised bed of tomatoes in my backyard.
Oh no, a multi-tab spreadsheet for one bed.
Yes. I spent more time tweaking the spreadsheet than I did in the dirt. And the tomatoes eventually died of blossom and rot anyway because I was over-optimizing the plan and ignoring the physical reality of the garden.
That's hilarious, but also a perfect example.
I was trying to control every variable manually, which didn't scale at all. I was the bottleneck.
That is the perfect contrast. You are trying to be the sole mechanism of maintenance. Ang realizes he can't be the sole mechanism. By allowing these snails to breed in this failed tank, he is creating a self-replicating maintenance crew.
The biological Roomba.
Exactly. He's not just using them as Roombas, he's treating them like a distributed cron job.
A distributed cron job. Okay, you have to explain the mechanics of that for anyone who isn't a software engineer.
Right, sorry. In software, a cron job is a time-based scheduling service.
Okay.
It's a background task that automatically runs maintenance scripts, like clearing out old cache files or backing up databases while the main system operates, or even while you sleep.
Oh, I see.
So Ang realized he could take these snails, this biological background task, and deploy them across all of his other aquariums to passively run maintenance scripts on the algae and the bottom debris. The pest literally becomes a vital, scalable piece of automation.
So what does this all mean? Because let's be honest, who looks at a tank full of slimy, invasive pests and immediately thinks, ah, yes, a scalable, automated utility framework?
Not many people, that's for sure.
Right. To understand that massive leap in logic, we have to look at what this guy does when he's not staring at fish. We have to look at the architecture of the blog itself.
The wider context of qianmeng.org is what makes his approach to the fish tank make sense.
It really does. When you look at the sidebar of this website, the context completely shifts. This isn't just a casual diary where a guy talks about his pets.
No, not at all.
Ang's roots are deeply embedded in floss-free Libre and open-source software. He lists his active support for the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the Free Software Foundation, the Software Freedom Conservancy, and the Tor Project.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, those organizations are the foundational pillars of the open source philosophy.
Right.
The core mechanism of that movement is that information, code, and systems should be entirely transparent, freely shared, and constantly rigorously iterated upon by a community.
You don't hide your bugs.
Exactly. You don't hide your bugs. You document them publicly so others can learn and build patches.
And he applies that exact rigorous philosophy to his own physical life. I mean, the sidebar of his site is staggering. He tracks notes on gardening. And by the way, the source mentions he's on part 836 of his gardening notes.
Part 836. That is incredible.
It's wild. He tracks notes on Haskell programming at part 82, notes on dieting at part 116. There is photography, networking, AI, typesetting, meditation, home improvement, even guitar.
It's everything.
Yeah, this isn't just a blog. It is a living GitHub repository of his entire existence. But how does that actually work? How do you apply version control to your diet or your houseplants?
Well, think about the mechanics of version control in coding. If you deploy a new feature and the software crashes, You could look at the logs, identify the exact line of code that caused the conflict, and roll the system back to a stable version.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
Right. When Aang logs a dieting entry, he's basically committing a patch to his own biological code.
Wow.
If a new dietary habit introduces a bug, say severe afternoon lethargy, he doesn't have to guess why he feels terrible. He can review his meticulously categorized logs, identify the conflicting dietary variable, and roll his habits back to a previous stable version.
And he places all of these disciplines under one unified architectural roof. I mean, he has beta spawn logs sitting right next to notes on Elixir Erlang programming and notes on Python.
Which is the key to his systems thinking. Let's look at Erlang, for example, since he notes it prominently.
Okay, what's Erlang?
Erlang is a programming language specifically designed for building massively scalable, fault-tolerant systems. In an Erlang system, isolated parts are actually expected to crash.
Expected to crash.
Yes. But the architecture ensures those isolated crashes don't bring down the whole network. The philosophy is literally called let it crash.
Oh, wow. That maps perfectly to the fish room.
It maps perfectly. The mental models you use to optimize a fault-tolerant block of Erlang code begin to bleed over into how you manage a biological ecosystem.
He lets the epistogramma breeding project crash.
Yes, he doesn't panic. The overarching system, the water, the tank, the baseline ecology survives, and he utilizes the remaining components, the snails, to keep the network running. The open-source software mindset becomes the literal lens through which he processes his physical environment.
That makes total sense now. But we really need to emphasize the sheer scale of his documentation to understand how he maintains this lens.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's not just that he categorizes his hobbies well, it's the relentless, almost unbelievable volume of iteration.
The archives are a testament to an extreme level of consistency that most people simply cannot fathom.
I am genuinely stuck on the numbers provided in the source. He has archives dating back to 2011 where he was posting maybe 2 or 3 dozen times a year, a normal blogging pace, right?
Sure, very standard.
But then a few years ago, he hits this stride. Listen to this data for you listening at home. In 2022, he published 730 posts.
730.
In 2023, 730 posts. In 2024, 732 posts, accounting for the leap year.
That is mathematically precise.
In 2025, back to 730 posts. That is literally 2 posts a day, every single day for years.
It's staggering.
Weekends, holidays, sickness, it doesn't matter. And even by March 15th of 2026, the date of the Fishkeeping post we're discussing, he already has 222 posts for the year.
Maintaining that kind of output requires a fundamental rewiring of your daily habits. It really does.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. He's not doing this to be an influencer. He's not monetizing his snail observations.
No sponsors, no ads.
Right. He has a very clear disclaimer on the site. He says, "Opinions expressed here are my own. All content provided in this blog is for informational purposes only and will accept no liability for any loss or damage incurred."
He's basically using the standard open source software license.
Yes. Use this code at your own risk.
Exactly.
This is a pure personal knowledge base. He's doing this entirely for himself, which honestly makes me incredibly skeptical.
Why skeptical?
Well, I've tried daily journaling. I barely make it to February 1st before I quit. 2 detailed, categorized posts a day, every day, sounds less like systems optimization and more like a compulsion. Where is the actual return on investment for this level of obsession?
This raises an important question about the nature of observation. It sounds exhausting if you view writing as a chore to report on your day. But if you look at the mechanism of cognitive training, the ROI becomes massive.
Cognitive training.
Yeah. Logging over 700 micro-observations a year fundamentally changes how the human brain processes the world. Think about the reticular activating system in your brain.
Okay, remind me what that does.
It's the filter that decides what information to ignore and what to pay attention to. When you know, without fail, that you have to write 2 structured posts today, you cannot sleepwalk through your routine.
Yeah.
You force your brain's filter to stay wide open.
Because you are constantly hunting for material.
Yes.
If you don't find something interesting, you fail the daily system.
Exactly. It forces you to notice the tiny details that everyone else walks right past. Looking at his recent post titles, he doesn't just write a generic entry about watering his plants. He writes a specific note observing the gelatinous pearls in his gardening soil.
Oh, wow.
He notices the subtle, granular shifts in his seedlings. And crucially, this daily cognitive training is the exact mechanism that allows him to spot those nearly invisible snail egg clusters on a glass pane instead of just seeing a failed empty fish tank.
He has systematically trained his brain to never miss a data point.
It's the ultimate antidote to modern information overload.
How so?
Well, most of us spend our time passively consuming structured data created by algorithms, right? Endless feeds of content designed to distract us and keep us scrolling. Aang has completely flipped the script.
He refuses to be a passive consumer.
Exactly. He is actively creating his own structured data from his immediate physical reality. He is the algorithm of his own life.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. He's not drowning in the internet. He is deliberately contributing to it, piece by piece, observation by observation.
Yeah.
Whether it's a breakthrough in a niche programming language or a realization that a dietary shift is causing a bug in his energy levels, or the discovery that a pest is actually a biological maintenance script, it all gets logged.
It all gets version controlled.
Yes. And because he documents the failures, like the dead fish, just as meticulously as the successes, he creates a searchable archive of his own resilience.
That's a great way to put it.
If you don't document the failure of a bad meeting at work or a burnt dinner, you are missing out on the raw data required to write a patch for it next time.
Which brings us right back to the concept of ecological redundancy. By meticulously logging everything, he ensures that no experience is a total loss. Even a complete failure in one area yields valuable data that can be applied to another area.
Okay, let's bring this all together. We started with a highly specific scenario. A single, empty, 20-gallon fish tank. A failed project involving a delicate pair of dwarf cichlids.
Right.
Most people would have poured bleach in the water and started over. But by looking at that tank through the specific, deeply trained lens of an old software plumber, we've seen how that empty space is actually a masterclass in systems thinking.
We really have. We've explored the radical acceptance of biological bugs and the mechanism of reframing them as highly efficient automated features.
Yeah.
We've seen how managing a physical hobby with the same architectural mindset as a fault-tolerant Erlang server farm allows you to weaponize pests into helpful biological cron jobs.
And zooming out, we've unpacked the staggering power of daily, relentless documentation. Writing 730 posts a year isn't a compulsion, it's a cognitive training mechanism.
Oh, right.
It's building a transparent, open-source repository of a human life, forcing the brain to stay engaged with the physical world.
It's a powerful reminder that the environment around us is constantly generating rich, actionable data if we just build the systems to catalog it. Aang found profound utility in his empty tank because his daily habits forced him to pay close enough attention to notice the snails.
He wasn't blinded by the project he lost.
Right. He was intensely observant of the baseline ecology that remained.
It really makes you reconsider how you look at the empty tanks in your own life, the projects that crash, the habits that fail, the plans that fall apart.
It does. And it leaves you with a final lingering thought to explore on your own.
I love these. Let's hear it.
If you were to meticulously document your own daily failures and background processes with the same relentless consistency, say, committing a patch to your own life log 700 times a year, what invisible, highly efficient snails would you discover quietly cleaning up the background of your own life?
Man, what a question to walk away with. Think about that the next time your pristine logic collides with the messy, unpredictable reality of your day. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. You are now a little more well-informed, and hopefully you'll be looking at your own background processes and maybe even your setbacks in a whole new light. Until next time.